My sister claimed she deserved a share of Mom's business. When I refused, she declared war. What she did next? Unforgivable. I never imagined that losing my mom would be the easy part. Don't get me wrong. Losing her was like having the ground ripped out from under me. She wasn't just my mother. She was a force of nature, a woman who built something from nothing and made sure everyone in our family had something to stand on. She started her business, a small but successful home goods store, when she was barely scraping by, with nothing but a dream and a relentless work ethic. She worked day and night to make it grow, refusing to back down even when things got tough. That store was her life, and she poured every ounce of herself into it. So when she passed, I knew exactly what she wanted. She made it crystal clear in her will. The business was mine to inherit. Not because she loved me more than my sister, but because I was the one who had been there, helping her stock shelves after school, handling the books when I got older, learning every inch of what made it successful. Mom trusted me to keep it going, to honor the years of blood, sweat, and sacrifice she put into it. But my sister? She had other plans. At first, it was little things, offhand comments at the funeral, like, "It's crazy that Mom didn't split the business between us. You know, since I'm the older one." Or, "I mean, you don't even know what you're doing yet. Wouldn't it be better if we ran it together?" I let it slide, thinking she was just grieving in her own way. But then, the manipulation started. She started planting doubts in our family's heads, whispering to relatives that I wasn't experienced enough to handle things on my own, dropping hints that maybe Mom had been pressured into giving me everything, implying that I had somehow coerced our dying mother into favoring me. It was disgusting, but still, I tried to keep the peace. Then came the outright sabotage. I walked into the store one morning to find her behind the counter, acting as if she owned the place. She had already talked to some of the employees, telling them she was taking over to make sure things were handled properly. Some of them actually believed her, because why wouldn't they? She was my sister. After all, to them, this was just family business. But this wasn't family business. This was theft. She was trying to steal what my mother built, what was rightfully mine. And I knew if I didn't do something soon, she was going to destroy everything my mother had worked for. So now, I have to decide. Do I fight this legally and risk tearing my family apart? Or do I cut her off completely and stop the manipulation? Or do I expose her for the lying, scheming person she really is, before it's too late? I don't know what to do yet, but one thing is certain. I'm done playing nice. I should have known that keeping the peace was never an option. After catching my sister behind the counter, acting like she owned the place, I confronted her right then and there. I walked straight up to her and said, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" She had the audacity to look surprised, like I was the one out of line. "Relax," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "I was just helping out. Someone's got to keep this place running." That's when I saw it. The way the employees looked at me, unsure. She'd gotten to them first. She had been whispering in their ears, planting doubts before I even had a chance to step into my role. I should have handled it better. I should have calmly asserted my position and shut her down professionally. But I didn't. I snapped. I told her she had no right to be there, that Mom left the business to me, and if she wanted a job, she could submit an application like anyone else. She laughed. Like I was some clueless idiot throwing a tantrum instead of the actual, legal owner of this store. And then she said something that made my blood boil. "You think you're the boss just because of a piece of paper? Mom built this business for our family. Not just you. You're being selfish." Selfish. I worked in this store since I was 12. I sacrificed weekends, holidays, my social life to help our mom build this. And now that it was successful, now that she saw an opportunity, I was being selfish? I should have kicked her out that second, but I hesitated. I didn't want to cause a scene in front of the employees. And she knew that. She smirked, like she had already won. "I'll be back later," she said, grabbing her purse like she had some right to be there. "You can't run this place without me." That was when I realized. She wasn't going to stop. And if I didn't do something fast, she was going to take everything. I should have known she wouldn't stop at just showing up at the store. That was just her opening move. The real attack started behind my back. It began with little things. Employees suddenly acting distant, avoiding eye contact, conversations stopping when I walked into the room. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe it was just growing pains, everyone adjusting to me taking over. But then, one of my longest-standing employees, someone who had been there since the early days, pulled me aside. She looked uncomfortable, like she didn't want to say anything but felt like she had to. "Your sister's been talking," she told me hesitantly. Saying stuff? I felt my stomach drop. What kind of stuff? She hesitated, then sighed. That you're planning to sell the business. That you don't actually care about keeping it running, that you're just looking to cash out? I swear, I saw red. My sister knew damn well that this business meant everything to me. Selling it? That was never even a thought. But it got worse. Apparently, she was also telling them that Mom wanted us to run the store together, but that I manipulated her into putting everything in my name. That I had pressured her when she was sick, taking advantage of her weakened state to push my sister out. It was disgusting. And worst of all, some of them were starting to believe her. I tried to control the damage. I called a staff meeting, laid out the facts. I told them I wasn't selling, that Mom made her decision with a clear mind, that I was committed to keeping the store running just like she had. Most of them nodded. Some even apologized for doubting me. But a few? They didn't look convinced. The seed had been planted. My sister had done exactly what she wanted. She made me look untrustworthy, made them question me. And once that kind of doubt sets in, it doesn't just go away. I wasn't just dealing with her trying to take over the store anymore. Now, I was dealing with a full-blown smear campaign. And I had no idea just how far she was willing to take it. I spent the next few weeks putting out fires. Every day, it felt like I was fighting just to hold on to what was already mine. Customers started asking weird questions. I heard you're selling, is that true? Suppliers hesitated before signing new agreements, suddenly unsure if the store was stable. Employees I had trusted for years started second-guessing my decisions, as if I had no right to run the business my mother gave me. And through it all, my sister kept playing her little game, acting like she was just concerned, like she was trying to help when in reality, she was the one causing the damage in the first place. Then she made her biggest move yet. I walked into the store one morning, expecting a normal day, only to find my sister sitting in the back office. My office, legs crossed, sipping a coffee, like she belonged there. What the hell are you doing? I demanded. She didn't even blink. Just checking in, she said, like this was her business too. There's been a lot of talk about how things are being handled. I figured I should step in before things get worse. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Step in? You don't have a say here. You don't work here. She smiled, smirked. That's funny, because a lot of people seem to think I should. And that's when I noticed the papers sitting on my desk. I grabbed them, my stomach sinking as I realized what they were. Petitions. One from a handful of employees, another from family members, all urging me to allow my sister to be a partner in the business. Are you out of your mind? I hissed. You went behind my back. I did what I had to do, she interrupted, standing up like she was actually on equal footing with me. You're tearing this place apart. Employees are leaving. Suppliers don't trust you. Customers are hearing rumors. Mom wouldn't have wanted this. And that's when I realized her endgame. She wasn't just trying to weasel her way into a role at the store. She was trying to force me into giving her power. She was trying to break me down, turn people against me, make me look incompetent, until I had no choice but to let her in. But she underestimated me. I wasn't going to roll over and let her take what wasn't hers. So I looked her dead in the eye and said, if you don't walk out of this office right now, I'll have security escort you out. Her smirk faltered. You wouldn't. Try me. For a second, I thought she was going to double down, thought she was going to fight me on it. But instead, she scoffed, grabbed her purse, and shoved past me. This isn't over, she muttered, just loud enough for me to hear. And I knew she meant it. She was willing to destroy everything just to get what she thought she deserved. And I wasn't sure if I was ready for the war she was about to bring. I thought I was prepared for whatever my sister threw at me next. I was wrong, because she wasn't just spreading lies at the store anymore. She was taking this fight straight to our family. It started with phone calls from relatives, some distant, some I hadn't heard from in years. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Why are you being so selfish? Your sister just wants to be part of Mom's legacy. Is it really fair for you to keep it all to yourself? At first, I tried to explain. I told them the truth, that this wasn't about fairness, that Mom had chosen me to run the business because I was the one who put in the work, that my sister never even cared about the store until she saw dollar signs. But no one wanted to hear it. She had painted herself as the victim, the poor older sister who was being shut out by her greedy, power-hungry sibling. And people bought it. The worst part? It wasn't just distant relatives. It was our own aunts and uncles. People who had seen me in the store, who knew how much time and effort I had put into this business. Even our dad. Maybe you should just let her help out, he suggested one evening. after inviting me over under the pretense of wanting to talk things through. It wouldn't kill you to share. I laughed. Actually laughed. Because it was so ridiculous. She doesn't want to help, I snapped. She wants to take over. Dad sighed, rubbing his temples like I was the problem. Look, I'm just saying, she's struggling. You know she hasn't been doing great financially. This could be good for both of you. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So because she failed at everything else, I'm supposed to hand this over to her? It's not about handing anything over, he said, even though that's exactly what it was about. It's about keeping the peace. There it was. Because in our family, keeping the peace always meant giving in. Giving my sister what she wanted so she wouldn't throw a fit. Letting her win, even when she didn't deserve it. And I was done. I'm not discussing this anymore, I said, standing up. This business is mine. Mom made her choice, and I'm not going to let anyone guilt me into undoing it. Dad just shook his head, disappointed. Like I was the one being unreasonable. Like I was the one tearing the family apart. But I wasn't the one manipulating everyone. I wasn't the one lying. And I wasn't the one about to take things a step further. Because as I was about to find out, my sister wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. I thought the manipulation, the rumors, and the family pressure were bad. I had no idea what was coming next. I got served. An official legal challenge against Mom's will. I remember just staring at the papers, trying to make sense of the words. Contest of will. Undue influence. Family business dispute. I read it over and over again, as if the words would somehow change. But the meaning was clear. My sister was suing me. She wasn't just trying to guilt me into giving her a piece of the business anymore. She was trying to take it by force. I called my lawyer immediately, and he confirmed what I already knew. This was serious. She's arguing that your mother wasn't of sound mind when she signed the will, he explained. That you manipulated her while she was sick and pressured her into cutting your sister out. It was bullshit, of course. Mom had been clear about what she wanted. The will was drafted years ago, long before her health started to decline. It was legal, airtight. But that didn't mean my sister couldn't drag me through hell trying to fight it. My lawyer sighed. Cases like this can take months, sometimes years. Even if she doesn't have a strong case, she can make your life miserable just by filing it. And that was the point. She wanted to bleed me dry, tie me up in court, make it impossible for me to focus on running the store, make me so exhausted, so drained, that I just give up and give her what she wanted. And the worst part? I knew exactly where she got this idea from. Our dad. I confronted him that night, storming into his house and shoving the papers at him. Did you know about this? I demanded. His expression told me everything. He looked guilty, caught, like a kid who had been found with his hand in the cookie jar. Look, he started, your sister. I laughed. A bitter, humorless laugh. Unbelievable. You actually helped her do this? She just wants what's fair, he said, his voice tired. She's struggling, and you're acting like there's no way to compromise. Because there isn't, I snapped. She's not entitled to this business just because her life didn't turn out the way she wanted. This is Mom's legacy, and you're letting her piss all over it. She's still your sister, he said. I stared at him, feeling something break inside me. No, Dad. She's not. Because no sister would do this, and no father would stand by and let it happen. I turned around and walked out. This was war now, and I wasn't going to lose. Facing a legal battle against my own sister was something I never imagined. But there it was, her challenge to our mother's will, a calculated attack designed to wear me down. It was never about fairness or justice. It was about power, control, and entitlement. The moment I left my father's house, I knew there was no turning back. There would be no heartfelt reconciliation, no chance for reason to prevail. She wanted a war, and she was going to get one. The first step was securing my legal position. My lawyer reassured me that my mother's will was solid, legally binding, and had been signed long before her health declined. There was no evidence of coercion or undue influence, no sign that she had been anything but clear-headed when she made her decision. Legally, my sister's case was weak, but the strength of her case wasn't the point. She wasn't trying to win in court. She was trying to break me. She wanted to drain my energy, my finances, and my patience until I was too exhausted to fight back. She wanted to tie up the business in legal red tape so that it became impossible to function smoothly, to make running it such a burden that I would eventually be forced to let her in just to make the nightmare stop. I refused to give her that satisfaction. Over the next few weeks, I worked harder than I ever had before. I met with my lawyer constantly, gathering every shred of evidence that supported my case. Old emails from my mother discussing the business, messages where she clearly expressed her trust in me to run it, financial documents proving that I had always been involved. Every signature, every record, every conversation became ammunition in my defense. At the same time, I doubled down on stabilizing the store. My sister had done serious damage with her rumors, but I wasn't going to let her destroy what my mother built. I called a staff meeting, addressing the uncertainty head-on. There was no room for doubt anymore. I made it clear that the business was not for sale, that I was committed to its success, and that the lies being spread had no basis in reality. Some employees still hesitated, wary after weeks of manipulation, but others finally seemed to realize the truth. The hardest part was dealing with the family. The calls didn't stop. The guilt-tripping continued. Some relatives pressured me to settle, to be the bigger person, and find a way to let my sister have something. Others outright accused me of being heartless, of tearing the family apart over money. The irony of that accusation was almost laughable. Every day felt like a battle on multiple fronts: legal, financial, emotional. My sister refused to back down, and I refused to give her an inch. She expected me to crack, to give in to the pressure, to make a mistake. She didn't realize that the more she pushed, the more determined I became. This business was more than just money or ownership. It was my mother's legacy, a symbol of her hard work, her sacrifices, and her trust in me. I was not going to let my sister destroy that, no matter how far she was willing to go. But as I braced myself for the court battle ahead, I had no idea just how low she was willing to sink. The legal battle dragged on longer than I had hoped. My sister's claims were weak, but the sheer amount of time and energy required to fight them was wearing me down. The store was stable, but not unaffected. Uncertainty made suppliers hesitant, and some employees were still wary, unsure if they were backing the winning side. I was exhausted, but I refused to let her win. Then she did something I never saw coming. One morning, I arrived at the store to find an unfamiliar tension in the air. Employees avoided my gaze, whispering among themselves. My stomach tightened, the familiar weight of something being wrong settling in before I even knew the details. One of my most trusted employees finally came forward, clearly uncomfortable. She hesitated before handing me her phone, saying I needed to see something. What I saw made my blood run cold. My sister had taken the battle online. She had written a long, emotional post, spinning a story that made her look like the victim in all of this. She painted me as the greedy sibling who had manipulated our dying mother into signing over our family business, forcing her out of something that rightfully belonged to both of us. She spoke about how she was only fighting to honor Mom's true wishes, about how she had no choice but to challenge me legally because I had shut her out completely. The post wasn't just words. It was crafted to pull sympathy, laced with just enough truth to make people doubt me. She had included pictures of her and Mom together, captions about how they had dreamed of running the business side by side. There were messages of support flooding in from extended family, old family friends, even customers. People who had no idea what the actual situation was, now calling me selfish, heartless, ungrateful. I had been dealing with rumors and manipulation for weeks, but this was something else entirely. This was public, and it was working. Customers started commenting, asking if it was true that I was trying to sell the store. A handful announced they wouldn't be shopping with us anymore. Others demanded an explanation, putting me in a position where I had to defend myself over something that shouldn't have even been a question. I sat there, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white, feeling something I hadn't let myself feel throughout this entire battle. Rage. Not just anger, rage. It wasn't enough for her to try and take the business. She wanted to ruin me in the process. She wanted to make me the villain in my own mother's story, rewriting history so that she could look like the devoted daughter, the rightful heir to something she never lifted a finger to build. I had spent weeks trying to take the high road, trying to be professional, trying to fight this battle quietly, through legal channels. But she had changed the rules. If she wanted a public war, she was going to get one. And I was done holding back. The moment my sister turned this into a public spectacle, she made a fatal mistake. She assumed I would sit back and let her control the narrative, that I would let her lies go unanswered, let her paint herself as the victim while I quietly played defense. She was wrong. I wasn't going to let her rewrite history. I wasn't going to let her destroy my reputation or drag my mother's memory through the mud. So, I did what she never expected. I fought back. I took my time crafting my response. I wasn't going to lash out emotionally, no matter how much I wanted to. I wasn't going to sink to her level with petty insults or manipulative half-truths. I was going to do what she hated the most: lay out the cold, hard facts. I started with the will. A copy of the signed, dated, legally binding document that made it clear. My mother had chosen me to inherit the business. Not out of favoritism, not because of manipulation, but because I was the one who had actually been there. I included financial records showing my years of involvement, the late nights helping balance the books, the weekends spent working shifts when employees called out, the contracts I had helped negotiate when the business was struggling. I laid it all out, proving that I wasn't just handed the store. I earned it. Then I addressed my sister's claims directly. I reminded everyone that, until our mother passed, my sister had never shown interest in the business, that she had no experience, no training, no role in running the store, that she had only started fighting for ownership when she realized how profitable it had become. I kept it professional, factual, but I didn't hold back. I called out her smear campaign, the lies she spread to employees, the manipulation of family members, the calculated attempts to sabotage me. I made it clear that this legal battle wasn't about fairness or family. It was about greed. And then, I ended with something she wasn't prepared for. I posted screenshots, text messages from her, messages where she admitted she had no business experience, where she mocked the idea of wasting her life in a store. Old conversations where she dismissed our mother's work as boring, where she laughed at the idea of running a small business instead of chasing bigger things. She had never cared about the store. Not until she saw dollar signs. I hit post and waited. The fallout was immediate. Family members who had blindly supported her suddenly started backtracking. Comments under her post shifted from sympathy to skepticism. Even some of the employees who had doubted me started reaching out, realizing they had been fed lies. And my sister? She lost it. She started frantically deleting comments, blocking people who questioned her, even trying to take her original post down. But it was too late. Screenshots were circulating. The truth was out, and no amount of damage control could change that. For the first time since this battle began, she was losing, and she knew it. But just when I thought it was finally over, she did something that proved just how far she was willing to go. Because when manipulation didn't work, she decided to go for destruction. The moment my sister realized she was losing, she stopped pretending to be the victim. The mask came off. The fake tears, the public pleas for fairness, the manipulative whispers to family, none of it mattered anymore. She wanted revenge. I didn't realize how far she was willing to go until I walked into the store one morning and found chaos. The front door had been left unlocked overnight. Inventory was scattered across the floor, shelves knocked over, displays smashed, registers broken open. At first, I thought we had been robbed. Then I saw the security footage. It wasn't a stranger. It was her. She had come in after hours, using the key she had stolen before I had the locks changed. She had trashed the place. She ripped through records, scattering paperwork. She dumped merchandise onto the ground, breaking whatever she could. And when she was done, she walked out like she hadn't just vandalized the business our mother built from nothing. I stood there, staring at the screen, feeling a level of rage I didn't even know I was capable of. She had lost in court. She had lost in the public eye. And when she couldn't take the business from me, she had tried to destroy it instead. I called my lawyer immediately. Then, I called the police. There was no doubt about what had happened. The security footage showed everything, clear as day. She had gone from being a manipulative, entitled brat to an outright criminal. When the cops showed up at her door, she had the nerve to act shocked, as if she couldn't believe I would actually press charges. She tried to spin it as a family dispute, claiming she had just lost her temper, that she didn't mean any harm. But the evidence didn't lie. She was arrested for trespassing, vandalism, and destruction of property. The moment she was booked, the last of her supporters disappeared. Family who had defended her, friends who had sympathized with her, they all vanished. No one wanted to be associated with her anymore. She called me from jail, once. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was shaking, a pathetic mix of desperation and anger. She blamed me for everything, said I had turned the family against her, said I had ruined her life. But I didn't ruin her life. She did. She was the one who tried to steal what wasn't hers. She was the one who spread lies, manipulated people, and dragged me into a legal battle she had no hope of winning. And when all else failed, she was the one who tried to burn everything to the ground. I wasn't sorry for pressing charges. I wasn't sorry for cutting her off. And I wasn't sorry for winning. After months of fighting, I finally had my business back. No more rumors. No more legal threats. No more manipulation. Just me, my employees, and the store my mother trusted me to run. My sister lost everything. And I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. Because in the end, she wasn't fighting for mom's legacy. She was fighting for herself, and she lost. For good.